Holy smokes. It's Mark Wagner, Dental Bytes. I'm pumped today. I don't know how I managed to get any of this guy's time, but I just spoke with him before we started here. This guy pops up on everything. If you type dental, this guy pops up. So without further ado, Dr. Kyle Stanley, how are you? Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. How the heck are you able to pop up on like absolutely everything? Like what's your secret?
That's really funny. Yeah, thanks for having me. I've had an interesting experience in dentistry. I've had my hands in a lot of different areas. So I don't know. I dabble in this, I dabble in that, I dabble in something else. So maybe it's the collective effort that makes me pop up when you type in dental.
There you go. I like you're on my algorithm, so that's
good.
I'm immersed in dental as well across all the board too. So let's dive into it. Like you're involved with like you're attached to everything these days. Like how the heck do you find time to do all these things, do a podcast and do dentistry and be a dad? And ultimately, how do you take care of yourself too? I really want to dive into sort of your, setting boundaries, making sure that, Dr. Kyle Stanley's being taken care of too.
Yeah. So I do a lot of things, but I really don't do anything full time. So that's how I do multiple things, right?
There you go.
Yeah. So, I've been involved in the AI space for many years. I started a company called Pearl that's grown to be fairly large now. Very much have been focusing, especially the last few years, on helping doctors with mental health. Been doing a lot in the dental startup space, in dental investment space. So yeah, the secret is just not doing anything full time.
No, there you go. Okay, so just have your fingers in every pot, but don't do it full time. Got it. Check.
Yeah.
What's been sort of your passion project these days? Like, what are you looking most forward to?
Yeah, currently I love what I'm doing on the mental health space. I think I can make the biggest impact for my colleagues, for my profession, by helping colleagues master their mental and relational health. It's such a big problem that we have in dentistry. There's so many people that are suffering. Dentists are 17 times more likely to commit suicide, according to some research. There's some research coming out of the UK showing that like 50 to 60% of dentists have thought about quitting the profession. And dentistry can be amazing when it's done right, when you set the right expectations, when you have the right boundaries, when you have the good communication styles. But it can be horrible when you don't. It can be terrible. And I've been there before. So
what's, and this topic is near and dear to me too. There's so many stories out there. What common, in terms of mental health, what common themes are you hearing out there? I obviously know a lot of these answers, but what are you seeing from your perspective as being, in the profession and,
dentists give everything to their profession and give nothing to themselves. And so we kind of break ourselves down. There's many days. I know every dentist listening to this has days where they go the whole day without going to the restroom. They go the whole day without taking a sip of water, without having lunch, sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night. Just some of that in any profession will burn you out eventually. When you add in the fact that so many of us align our self-worth with our clinical profession, which is a big problem to have, because when you're in a profession like ours where you're bound to fail, and what I mean by that is a crown's going to come off, an implant's going to fail, a patient's not going to be happy with the bite, the lab is going to come back and the contact is going to be open. Like we have all these little things, little micro failures, but when you align your whole self-worth with your clinical prowess, and almost every day something's going to go wrong, that becomes extremely challenging. So just separating our purpose in life from our profession is a major change that I think a lot of us need to make. I was one
What
of these people.
what have you done personally to help combat these fronts?
I mean, for me, a lot of it started with self-awareness. When I was going down into burnout, I didn't even realize that I was going into burnout because that was just normal for me. This is one of the things I think why dentists have a hard time is because we grind for a long time, meaning you had to do well in high school to get into college. You had to do well in college to get into dental school. So even through college, maybe you weren't going to all the parties. You were at the library studying and taking your DATs. And then in dental school, you were there on the weekends and at night and you were waxing up things and you dropped your wax up and it broke and you failed your first test. And then you get out of dental school thinking like, okay, now I'm a dentist. No, that's when you have to start grinding even more. Now you got to grind. You got to work for 3 or 4 different offices as an associate. And you got to drive 2 hours. That's the only place you can get a job. And then you're like, oh, when I get a practice, then I won't have to grind. But
That's when it begins, right?
That's when it really starts, right? And now you're grinding. So it could be 20 years that you're grinding before you realize you're grinding. And the thing with that is that that's not sustainable.
No.
You can grind for years, a few years, but you can't do it inevitably, right? You can't do it forever. And that's what I see so often is, for me, I was 7 years out of school when I really hit my burnout state. And I see that a lot. It's like 5 to 15 years out of school is when a lot of dentists just can't do it anymore because they're so burnt out from everything. And so I think you have to grow sustainably, which a lot of us don't like to do. Dentists are overachievers. We are the A, the B student. We're the person that gets good in school. We did well in school. That's who we are. We only want to just have victories. But you have to realize that to do this for 20, 30, 40 years, if you're going up like this really high, you're just going to come down really fast. But if you have a smaller slope, you can actually go longer and end in a better place.
Right. Now, I understand your dad was also a dentist for a number of years, 46, if I'm remembering the number.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you see your dad deal with a lot of these things through his profession? Like, did he indicate any of these stressors to you, like, so that you had awareness going into it yourself?
Yeah, so my dad was a dentist for 46 years. My brother is a dentist as well. So he's been a dentist now, I think this year may be his 20th year. No, I didn't see it with my dad. I think my dad went through a burnout period, but it was when I was very young, and so I didn't really see it. Right. My dad was better at separating his job from his home life than I think people are now. I think it was also easier back then.
No kidding.
Because
right?
You couldn't come home and do digital smile designs or do wax ups or look at your emails or contact your front office and ask them about the patient tomorrow. So I think it was a little easier to separate yourself. But my dad he always had a life outside of dentistry. He wasn't one of those people that only hung out with dentists and only went to dental events and thought about dentistry all the time. He was really good about separating it. He was good at setting boundaries with it too. So we took vacations as a family. Only 10% of dentists take any time off, according to the ADA. So we took vacations. He would cancel patients to come to our water polo games or to come to dance recitals or to, whatever sport. There are 4 boys in my family, so there are a lot of sports, as you can imagine. So he was better at that. So no, I didn't really see it with him.
Interesting. So what are you doing? What are you doing now? Like what are some 3 key things that you're helping, establish the protective bubble around yourself so that you're not picking up the phone and looking at, a case? Like, how do you remove yourself from it?
Well, to me, it comes down to 3 things. It comes down to setting expectations, boundaries, and communication. So these were the things that I was bad at. Boundaries are things like when you're in your practice and you're not thinking about your home. And vice versa, when you're at home and you're not thinking about your practice. Now, how do you do that? You have to set boundaries with those people. So when you're in your practice, you have to tell your spouse or whoever it is that would call you, hey, I'm at work. Unless there's a lot of blood and you're rushing to the hospital, don't call me. So if there's a question about the electric bill or the groceries or, the whatever, the TV is not working, don't call me. And vice versa, when I'm at home, I'm going to be fully present with you, and I'm telling my team members not to call me. So that's a big one, is boundaries. I think taking time off is something that is undervalued in dentistry. It's looked at as a badge of honor. They're like, I work 7 days a week. I never take any time off. And I think the time off is just as important as the time on.
Yeah.
And so
What
planning ahead, knowing what your production's going to be so that you can take the time off. And then communicating that to your team members. Like, hey, we try to do, I'll make up a number, 5K a day. Our goal is 5K a day, right? So let's schedule so that we can do that so that everybody can have time off.
what tools, what software are you utilizing to making sure that, peace of mind, I'm sure, is a piece of that. What tools do you have in place to ensure that you can let things go a little bit?
What do you mean let things go?
That the machine is running, so that say that I don't want to have that phone call. Call me if somebody's bleeding out. Yes, but how do you what systems and tools do you have in place so that you can rest assured to kind of remove yourself from it?
I mean, most of that, it's kind of the antithesis of having software for it. It's really turning the phone off. Stop. It's that boundary, right? So it's the boundary from having more connection, I think, is what it is. It's being more present where you are so that you can be more productive, you can be more efficient while you're there. Whether that is when you're being a mom or dad, or when you're being a dentist or a practice owner or an associate or a hygienist or whatever your role is. So it's having those boundaries, it's setting those with other people. And when you talk about software, I mean, just thinking about, let's say, planning your year ahead in production so that you can take 2 or 3 weeks off a year. It becomes very simple to look up in any modern practice management system, to look up what you're producing per year, then look at how many days you worked that year, figure out what your average production is per day, maybe what your new goal, let's say your average production was 3,500 a day. You want your goal to be 5,000 a day. Your crowns are 750. Then, you need to do 2 more fixed units, or you need to do 1 more denture, or whatever it works out to be in your practice. And I think that so many of us just ride by the seat of our pants in our business side. And then we're like, well, I can never take any time off. And someone saying I can never take any time off, to me, is subtly saying, I don't plan.
Right. That makes total sense. And I see, being out in the field, I see a lot of folks that they have a tough time taking that leadership role in their practice. Like, how crucial is it to, setting yourself up as the leader in your practice?
This is so important. I mean, one of the modules in one of my courses is really about leadership qualities and leadership skills, because no one ever taught us that. But most of us run private businesses where we have 5 to 20 people under us that we are managing. And one thing that one of my mentors, Christian Coachman, said, he said, either become a great leader or work for a great leader. Otherwise, there's going to be problems. And so I think it's okay if you're like, hey, I'm not a great leader. I don't really want to put time into learning these leadership qualities. Then hire someone to be the CEO of your practice. And just be the dentist in your practice, right? Just be the dentist owner. Have a little stake, give a stake to the other person, and then you don't have to deal with that. I suffered with that too. I think one of the things with me was I wanted to be liked. So I didn't want to bring up problems, but I had to at times. And I usually didn't bring up problems until I was very reactive about it. I was very emotionally charged. So then that just caused more problems. But, I have other partners that are better at that. They don't care to be liked as much by the team. They're
Right.
better at setting those boundaries. They're better leaders than I was. And part of it was because they would bring up the things that needed to be brought up in a non-emotional way, in a fact-based driven way. And they were better leaders because of that.
How do you tackle the team members that the ambitious ones, right? The opinionated ones that kind of try and push and take that leadership role? How do you keep things in balance in the practice?
Yeah, I mean, those employees can be great, and they can also eat away at your practice. I think it's really your communication skills. There's a great book, and we actually teach this book in my live courses that I do with Dr. Martin Mendelsohn. We call it Lightside Live. It's a 2-day transformational course. It's 12 CE credits. We're doing the next one May 9th and 10th. And we do an exercise called Crucial Conversations, where our participants come with a crucial conversation that they need to have. An example may be, my hygienist is 10 minutes late every day. Or I have an assistant that never bags the instruments correctly. Or my front office, needs to take a shower more. I mean, some of these things are like, how do you bring this up, right? And so we go through the frameworks on it. And there's science-driven frameworks on how to do this. This is one of the misconceptions with dentists is dentists think skills are only hand skills. That's the only skills that exist in life. But just because it's a skill that comes out of your mouth or that is between your ears, these are very valuable skills that most of us never learn. And so when you take a dentist that is great clinically, which most dentists are, because that's why we went to school for 8 to 12 years, and then you add these soft skills to them, oh my gosh, they thrive. But they have to have the awareness to know the importance of needing these skills.
Right. What's your favorite thing that you wake up every morning? Your most favorite part about being a dentist?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, today, I would say that it gives me the opportunity to go to the beach with my daughter in the morning. So it's kind of nothing related to dentistry.
That's not fair.
Yeah, but I think in general, it is being a healthcare provider, caring for people, giving, as I think that's why most of us got into this. We wanted to help people. And dentistry is a profession that is very rare in the sense of we give people back their health and their aesthetics and their function. Which, when you think of other professions like an orthopedic surgeon, they give back function, right? The knee works better, but it doesn't look better. You think of a plastic surgeon, they give back aesthetics. It looks better, but it probably doesn't function better. I mean, we give both. We give health and aesthetics. We give people back their confidence. We allow them to start eating and kissing and dating and swallowing better and feeling good about themselves. I mean, it's really a powerful profession. I think that in the future, I would love for it to be more preventative and less reactive. And I would love if there was a way for dentists to be paid more by having healthier patients, not paid more for doing more fixed units, for example.
How do we get there? And I totally agree with you. I think, a lot of that is public education. But what steps do we as an industry need to make to, here in Canada, it's the average person sees the dentist once, 60% of the population see the dentist once for a cleaning per year. How do we change that?
I think that's pretty powerful. Even just saying 60% of the population sees the dentist one time a year, it's probably way more than they see a doctor.
Sure.
And that's why I think the more we can incorporate preventative diagnostics into our practice early, we can build a lot of value. So there's some predictions on where the dental industry is going. I think if I get my numbers right, it's something like it's currently $250 billion segment, and it may grow to $400 billion in the next 10 years or something. And I heard someone say that the way that happens is by we dentists doing the first part of the screening of the medical side. So I believe that we should be the ones that are maybe taking the blood, doing the blood pressure, doing the swabs of the oral microbiome, right? If they're going to see us more than they're going to see the medical doctor, we need to be having those screening tools in our practice. And you see this happening with a lot of the very smart people that have a lot of money, the big DSOs in the world, right?
Yeah.
Or in North America.
Yeah.
You have big DSOs that are incorporating a dental clinic next door or even in the same clinic as a medical clinic. And I think when we can bring the mouth back into the body, we build a lot of value. It's really crazy how 100 years ago they said, oh, you do mouth, eyes, or feet? Okay, you're over there. You do the rest of the body? Okay, you're over there. You're the real doctors. You're the fake doctors. I mean, if we can bring them back together, we bring a lot more value as dentists. Our perceived value goes up. I think dentists will make more money. They'll be more respected, which is something that's very close to my heart, coming from a dental family.
Right. I like it popped in my mind that the Hangover, right?
That's right.
We need to move away from like this community where a joke. It's, in what other community are you like? How much is a practice like a 3 operatory practice cost these days? And what other doctors are using these tools on a regular basis, like CBCT and all these cool things that we're doing, like. It's
crazy. There's this thought from general consumers that dentists are like living in the 1970s. And don't get me wrong, there are some that are.
There are, but unfortunately,
the average dentist now, has CBCT. They have intraoral scanners. They're doing 3D printing. They're doing chairside milling. They may have face scanners. They've got mod jaw. They've got, AI incorporated. It's crazy.
It's badass, right?
It's
some pretty cool tools.
Are very forward thinking on technology.
Yeah. So like, and you spoke to it too, like the like we need to educate the public, and how important is the oral health connected to the body health, like just in terms of occlusion itself and airway, and the things that stem from that, like how important is that piece?
It's gigantic. I've become a huge airway nerd in the last 5 years. I had orthodontic surgery because of this, so I am deep down the rabbit hole. It's something you can't unsee for anybody that is in the airway world. I think that's one of the major ways that we actually bring a lot more value is through airway and through the screening process too. When you have so many of the oral signs of obstructive sleep apnea, where you have high palates and constricted arches and crowding and people that can't breathe through their nose and tongue ties, I think we can change lives. I'm one of these patients that had my life changed because one of my friends, Dr. Victor Kachaturian, kind of realized that I was an airway patient. He ended up teaching me about it. I went through the whole thing. Tongue tie expansion, orthodontic surgery, ortho, and it changed my life. It completely changed my life.
Yeah. And I've seen it firsthand with my uncle, just getting better sleep, and just waking up feeling energized. Just that fact alone, is just life-changing stuff.
That is huge. When I'm giving lectures about mental health and dentistry, I always get, 5 dentists to come up to me at the end and say, yeah, what you're talking about, I'm kind of going through that. What are like some quick tips? And I usually ask 2 questions. I say, how are you sleeping? And do you exercise? And most of the time it's shitty and no. and if you're not this is what I didn't even realize when I was in burnout, was I was prioritizing learning. So I would stay up late and read articles and watch YouTube videos and Instagram dental and all this stuff. And so I wasn't sleeping well. So then I would show up and I would be more reactive. So then I would lash out at people. Then my relationships would go down. Then that would cause me more stress. So then I wouldn't sleep. And it's like, it was this big thing. I wasn't exercising, so I didn't look good. I didn't feel good. I wasn't confident. I didn't have energy. Like, so much of that is just showing up to the dental practice in the best state you can be, because dentistry is freaking hard. I mean, it's very physically challenging. It's very emotionally challenging. So you have to show up to that. I always relate it back to professional athletes. When you think of professional athletes, any type of professional athlete you think of, whether it's NBA, NFL, I love hockey, and you probably appreciate that being Canadian.
Good.
I'm a big hockey fan. So you think of like an NHL athlete, right? They have to perform at a very high level. But they have to perform at a very high level for 2 to 3 hours a day. We perform at a very high level for 8 to 10 hours a day, measuring in microns. But think of how they train. Think of how they eat. Think of how they focus on their sleep. And then you have dentists saying, well, I don't know why I'm so burnt out. It's like if you had an F1 driver that was driving a race for 10 hours a day, but then sleeping 6 hours a night and eating like crap, it would be no wonder why they would crash, right?
Right. Funny story. I was actually I played beer league hockey. I was playing beer league hockey last night, and there's another guy on my team. I won't get into too further detail about this, but you talked about microns being and you guys are performing at that level. He was in big trouble because there's a steri center that was out a centimeter, right? Yeah, this dentist like, what the hell, man? It's out a centimeter. That's huge, right? That's a tooth.
Dude. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly right.
Backtracking a little bit, which in terms of airway, what tools are you using to have that communication with the patient? What do you nerd out on the most these days?
So I'm not treating airway patients. I'm mostly making referrals for my family and friends and patients to see other people. Yeah. So I'm not having those conversations. I'm exploring the conversations, but I'm not doing the treatment. So with
that aside, what tools are you finding the most handy to take the patient through the journey these days?
Yeah, I think showing them like restricted arches, just the awareness of people realizing they can't breathe through their nose. Like, it sounds crazy, but there's a lot of people that just think it's normal because it's always been like that, or it's been like that since they broke their nose when they were 7 or something like that. So, I mean, for me, when I had orthodontic surgery and I woke up and I went, oh my gosh, I didn't know people could breathe through their nose like that. But if you asked me before surgery if I breathe through my nose, well, I would say yes. And so it's just this awareness. Like, people think it's cute if kids snore. You'll see this on the internet, right? Oh, it's so cute, little baby snoring, right? Kids aren't supposed to snore. I mean, really, nobody's supposed to snore. And so some of that awareness, just bringing awareness to people is the first step. I mean, one of my jiu-jitsu professors says, a problem understood is a problem half solved. And I think that's so true. It's like you have to have awareness of the problem, understand the problem, and then solving it kind of becomes the easy part many times.
And the mind is such an interesting place where there might be that minute little thing that's off that, something like, say, breaks or something, we will quickly adjust to it being just a normal thing.
Yeah,
right?
It's so true. I have a great example of that. I had this lingual part of one of my molars, something chipped off, like a tiny little chip. It drove me crazy for like 3 weeks. I was like, my tongue was touching it. I couldn't, and I was talking to my partner, Matt, and I was like, Matt, hey, can you adjust this? And he looked at it, he's like, Kyle, it's so small. Like, I could, but it may just become more rough. Like, I wouldn't do anything. I don't even know where it is in my mouth anymore.
Yeah.
I adjusted to that. And I think that's the problem, especially with airway, is people adjust to that and that becomes their new normal, and they just think that's normal.
Which is really interesting. If you had one year, like you used the knee as an example before, like if your knee was out, you would probably go get that taken care of before, say filling or something had fallen out. Like that's sort of like the general sense out there.
Yeah.
And it goes back to sort of the like people valuing their like understanding the importance of their oral health. As a community, are we doing a good enough job at educating the public on that? Like,
no,
what else could we?
Definitely not. I mean, I don't even think we're doing that in dental school. You still have a lot of dentists that say, oh yeah, I mean, an implant is better than a tooth. And I'm like, no, it's not. I mean, I love implants. I specialized in implants in Brazil. My license plate on one of my cars says implants on it. But if it's my tooth, I'm doing 9 root canals, crown lengthening, whatever I need to do, maybe not crown lengthening, to save it. I'm doing ortho extrusion. I'm going to do everything I can to save it. And I think that is the thing, is like, when you've practiced long enough and you realize how valuable every little part of that tooth is. I mean, this was really like jammed into me from one of my first mentors, Pascal Magnier. It's just like loving natural teeth, respecting natural teeth, and knowing just how much each of your teeth are worth in your mouth. And I'm not talking about money wise. Like, I just had this conversation with a friend where she's a good family friend of mine. She had a crown done by someone else. It came off and there wasn't much left, but I knew that my partner, Matt, could fix it. And I was like, you got to go see Matt. I know he can fix this. And she went to another dentist that was like, oh, you should probably take it out and we'll just do an implant. And I'm like, no, like, you should try to fix this. She's like, well, what if it only lasts a few years? And I'm like, even if it lasts a few years, think of how fast technology progresses in a few years. So what the options are now are not what the options are going to be in 5 years. And so just like she ended up getting the tooth out, and I was so heartbroken just because she's my friend, that I really wanted her to save it, but she didn't see the value in it.
Why is it that the implant is sort of the switching to guns decision for a lot of folks?
I think it's become easy. It has, it has this inherent feeling of permanency because it's metal. I mean, even if it's zirconia, even if it's not metal, it's like, it doesn't have the challenges that something that's natural or from the body may have. So I think that's why. I love implants. Don't get me wrong. Like, implants are a great replacement for missing teeth. I don't think they're a great replacement for teeth.
Are root canals just too hard? Like what's is that the issue? Is it just a quicker fix? Is that sort of the deal?
A root canal?
No, the implant. Is it just it's easier?
Oh, than doing a root canal?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's crazy to me that people would just not do a root canal and take the tooth out. I mean, I don't like doing root canals, but it's better than taking the tooth out, in my opinion. So I don't know. There's a lot of crazy things going around the internet about root canals right now, and I still would rather have a root canal than be missing a tooth.
What crazy things are you seeing?
Well, there was a documentary that came out called Root Cause that basically was saying, like, I don't know the exact numbers, but it was saying like 90% of women that have breast cancer had a root canal on the same affected side. And I was like,
really?
Yeah, 100% of them also took a shower and wore shoes and went in the sun. Like, that's not causational, right?
Wow. Yeah.
But it went crazy. And like, there's a lot of holistic dentists out there that are saying, take out all the teeth in your mouth that have root canals because there's inherent infection in there. And you have to do all this other, I mean, I'll probably get destroyed by all the holistic dentists on here, but I personally don't believe in that.
That's crazy. There's a lot of the internet, right? There's a lot of.
And the sad part is, like, on things like that, maybe I'm wrong, but whatever dentists are doing, they think they're doing that's right. And so that's even harder when, like, let's say they're doing something that's wrong, right? Let's just say they are. And then they believe in that. So then they're even better at convincing the patient to do that. And you see these patients that have had 9 teeth taken out that are perfectly good and probably could have lasted 20 plus, 50 plus years. But because they think it's going to cause them cancer, they're going to take it out. I mean, it's kind of
There's
wild.
Such a like on, transcending just from our world, there's so much bad information out there. Like, how do you navigate through it all these days? It's I don't know if anybody out there has an answer for that. Like,
I don't have the answer.
Let me know. So you spoke to you're involved in some piece of AI in dentistry. What's that all about?
Yeah, so I started a company called Pearl that reads dental X-rays with the eyes of an expert through with AI. So it's now in 120 countries. Thousands of doctors are using it. Millions of patients have been had their radiographs reviewed, and it's really becoming a standard of care in dentistry. So it's pretty exciting to see what's happened to this technology that we had this idea of in 2015. I mean, the companies grew to be pretty large as well.
Awesome. Yeah, like I think just AI is going to trickle its way into like every aspect of our lives.
Yeah, AI will be an essential utility in dentistry for sure. And I say utility specifically just how water or power is. It's just going to be part of the plumbing that is very normal. The humans won't interact directly with the data anymore. There will be this layer of intelligence that we will interact with.
Yeah, I can't wait to have my own Jarvis. I want to be on
Yeah, that's right.
It's super cool. And like, what awesome things are you seeing with that tool now? Like, I can't imagine like having things circled for you. So it's like, you don't want to take all the work out of it, but it's such a cool tool, I would imagine, in terms of just diagnostic.
Oh yeah, I mean, from a diagnostic standpoint, there's other things that Pearl's coming out with, like AI scribes. So when you sit down and have conversations with your patients, the AI will listen and then create your chart notes. I mean, it's doing automatic insurance verification. It's cross-referencing what's happening in the images with the treatment plans to make sure what's happening in the mouth is actually what's being treatment planned. So I mean, there's so many things happening. There's I'm an advisor for 11 different tech companies. So there's things happening with calls and with smart mouth guards and, remote ortho assistants. I mean, there's so much happening. It's such an exciting time to be a dentist.
And, adding to our initial part of our conversation, perhaps taking some of the stressors, the guesswork out of doing the work.
That's exactly right. I mean, that was one of the reasons why we started Pearl, was to really reduce stress on patients and team members and dentists, so that we could build trust with patients easier. We could be more efficient in our practice. We could have more time away. We could make more money. I mean, all of that. I mean, everything that I'm involved with, my hope is that it reduces stress for the dentist and the patient.
Love it. To be respectful for your time, I'm keeping an eye on things for you here. How many kids you got? You got a son and a daughter?
Yeah, I have an 8-year-old son and a 2.5-year-old daughter.
Cool. I got a 9-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. So off to basketball practice, I hear, this evening?
Yeah. That's one of the great things. When my son started playing sports, I had the goal of coaching every one of his sports teams. So I've coached baseball and basketball and soccer, and we play hockey together. And so, that was one of the goals.
Awesome. And beach, are you guys surfing in the morning? Is that what's going on?
So when I go with my daughter, so she's only 2.5, so we're not surfing yet, but we go in the water every day. Yeah. Awesome. I mean, I'm surfing, but she's not.
Love it. Thank you so much for your time. I'll let you go put on your dad hat.
That's right. Yeah. Taking off the dentist hat. Dad hat comes on now.
It always secretly, the dad hat always stays on though, doesn't it?
It's underneath, right?
It is. Yeah. Love it. Thanks again for your time.
Thanks, Mark.